All right, let's dive right in. Alphabet, Google's parent company, just dropped its third quarter earnings for 2025, and the numbers are absolutely staggering. They've just smashed through a major milestone for the very first time, so we're going to break down exactly how they pulled it off. But first, gotta do the quick but super important reminder. Everything we're about to talk about is just for informational purposes. This is an explainer of a public report, and it is definitely not investment advice, okay? Cool? And here it is, the number that's grabbing all the headlines, $102.3 billion. For the first time in its history, Alphabet has broken the $100 billion barrier in a single quarter. That is a massive 16% jump from this time last year. So the big question is, where in the world did all that money come from? To really get a handle on a company this huge, you've got to pop the hood, right? We need to see which parts of this massive machine are really firing on all cylinders. And when you look at it this way, the picture becomes crystal clear. The lion's share, a whopping $87 billion, comes from Google services. That's the core of the whole operation. Think search, YouTube, Android, all that stuff. Then you've got Google Cloud pulling in a very strong $15 billion, and their experimental other bets, their moonshot projects like Waymo, making up a tiny little slice of the pie. So let's zoom in on that massive Google services segment. The traditional powerhouses are just stronger than ever. Google Search is still the undisputed king, bringing in almost $57 billion. YouTube ads, over $10 billion. And that subscriptions category, which is stuff like YouTube Premium and Google One storage, that's now a nearly $13 billion business on its own. The key thing here is that all of these big pieces saw double-digit growth. Just incredible. But, as impressive as the ad business is, the biggest growth story this quarter wasn't about advertising at all. The real star of the show, the part of the business that's growing the fastest, is hands down Google Cloud. So what's the secret sauce here? Well, CEO Sundar Pichai pretty much connects the dots for us. He says their full stack approach to AI is what's giving cloud all this momentum. And that makes total sense, right? Modern AI needs a colossal amount of computing power, which is exactly what Google Cloud sells. Then he drops another huge number, $155 billion backlog. We'll get to what that means in just a second. This chart really puts that growth into perspective. A year ago, Google Cloud made $11.4 billion. This quarter, it rocketed up to $15.2 billion. That is not just growth, that is a serious leap forward. Let's just put that number up by itself, 34%, a 34% year-over-year growth rate. For a business that's already doing over $60 billion a year, that kind of acceleration is just wild. It's a huge signal of where the entire market is heading. Okay, so what about that massive backlog number he mentioned? A backlog basically means signed deals for work they haven't done yet. So that $155 billion, that's committed money from customers that will turn into real revenue over the next few quarters and years. It's an incredibly powerful sign of just how healthy and predictable the cloud business is becoming. Now, a $100 billion quarter makes for a fantastic headline, but as you know, the real story is always hiding in the details. To really get what's going on with the company's performance, you gotta read the fine print. And the biggest piece of fine print this quarter was this, a $3.5 billion charge from the European Commission over competition laws. That is a significant hit that goes straight to the bottom line. So just how big of a hit was it? Well, with that fine included, the company's operating margin, which is basically how much profit they make for every dollar in sales, was 30.5%. But here's the interesting part. If you take out that one-time charge, their actual underlying profitability was almost 34%. It shows the core business is even more profitable than that headline number lets on. And as we dig a little deeper down the income statement, another number just jumps off the page, nearly $13 billion in other income. Now, this isn't money from search ads or cloud contracts, so what is it? The answer is in the company's venture capital investments. This huge gain came from marking up the value of their stakes in private companies that aren't on the stock market yet. Now, it's a huge boost to their net income for sure, but it's really important to get that this isn't cash from operations. It's what they call a paper gain, and it can swing wildly from one quarter to the next. Okay, we've gone through the giant numbers, the growth engines, and the sneaky fine print. So let's pull it all together and figure out what the key takeaways are from this truly historic quarter. So if you're going to remember just a few things, here's what it all boils down to. 1. record revenue. They finally smashed that $100 billion barrier. 2. The growth was everywhere. Search, YouTube, and cloud were all strong. 3. Google Cloud isn't just growing, it's accelerating, and it's got a massive pipeline of future business. 4. Even with a huge fine, the company's core profitability is incredibly healthy. And 5. A big paper gain on their private investments gave an extra jolt to the final profit number. And Alphabet is not taking its foot off the gas. The company announced it's cranking up its spending on capital expenditures for the year to over $90 billion. We're talking about a massive investment in things like data centers and servers, which directly fuels the explosive growth they're seeing in AI and Google Cloud. Which, of course, leaves us with the big, forward-looking question. This was an absolutely incredible quarter by pretty much every metric you can imagine. But with the company spending more than ever to build out its infrastructure and facing constant pressure from regulators all over the world, the real challenge is going to be whether it can keep this powerful momentum going.